Greetings, everyone. Well, a brighter day. Well, not brighter, but less cloudy. You'll see if it gets more cloudy as the day passes. Except for the birds, the silence in the air. They're picking Jamaican call it June plum. Good morning. That's what he's picking. When they're ripe, it's very good. Can make nice juice. Can make jam. Can get sugar from it. All around this area, not so much in Bridgetown or other areas of Barbados, but St. John, St. George, St. Joseph, St. Peter, St. Andrew, St. Lucy. All along the mountain. You can find fruits.
Direct that here, brother. More easier to direct that here. Yeah, I know that. And when you go and use a chainsaw, no Jeep, and that has a different price.
Yeah, different price. People don't know that.
And then these people,
Yeah, morning. Yeah.
People crying out for money already.
Yeah, well, things getting hard.
So everything you make that deal, you see, so you gotta work the soup.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But if these people here had a good money for the business, then they could get a chainsaw and maintain this rich donkey.
Listen, not only that, but remember this thing, these people business people in front they should never be like that.
Never look that.
You should have had your brush over here and keep it maintained.
Keep it.
Because remember, a lot of people coming here.
Keep it look anywhere here, look.
Yeah.
And plant some croutons and
plant it and beautify it. But remember, exactly in the place, and people love the view. And when they come to eat the food, I think it's a business place. Tourists come around, society people come around. These kind of people when they see this kind of environment, they want to come out time. And it off the road. Like how you do here. Well, you go come in and do your thing, you know.
All I did is bring more proof.
I'm telling you,
More people to see. Top view, man. Right there for that ridge. Huh? Right for that ridge there's a top view. a shot UK. I tell you what, but you know what?
I be saying, no, I think this is part of the government or security part.
Oh, this is government. Yeah, so, you know, what then got?
I walk by, pass by this place.
Oh, this is so.
How often you see me take photos and the trees here. That's what the discussion about. This is what the discussion about. Removing most of these trees right here and the view all the way down to the ocean. And this is a restaurant here that catered to what they call society and tourism. Society in Barbados are like people with money. Bajan people with money. That's what they call society. You were saying that this is a. I've seen it when it was clean, and it does look beautiful. It allows the. Well, you know what it looks like. It's open. It's more open. But I like to walk here early in the morning because but part of the discussion is that people now are building in places where used to be flooding before, and water will be going into the earth, and now people are building houses there. They bring in fill, put it there. The water now runs off. It's causing more flooding in Bridgetown. But we know that already. I was talking about that yesterday morning on the video I made. But like I said, a lot of the places where you see here, people built houses, like my dad's and his father's generation. You had 3 or 4 generations of people living in that house. In the past, it would be my dad's father and mother, my dad and my mother, and me maybe, and my wife. Because as the family grew, additions were made to the house. So you started out with 1 bedroom, living area, kitchen. In 1930, 1940, added on another one. 1950, added another one. 1960, 1970, add another one. But it was built in areas like this. You see, most of the houses were built where no planting, you know. See all of these houses right here. You couldn't plant on this because this rock. This is not like Gambia where is clay. This is rock that people have built on. But down here, as you go further down, you begin to have more, the soil becomes more, not clay, but dirt like this that can plant, you can plant on. See, dirt like this that you can plant on. And that's where most of the plantation in Barbados were planted on that. So you had everything planted, cotton, and the cotton on this side of the island was supposedly the best. Up to a few years ago, they were still growing it, and they were getting prices that were better than the so-called Egyptian cotton. What they call it, Sea Island cotton. The threads are stronger and smoother, and Japanese were making kimonos and other items from it. So they call it Japanese cotton. But anyway, that conversation. Is we need oil, and what the video I made yesterday about the Syrian economics professor, the conversation he was having online. You need also a cash crop, bringing money into foreign currency into the country, because you're spending foreign currency. You're making your loans in foreign currency, and that's part of the trap for Africa. It's not for Africa particularly, all the world, but with Africa, you don't want Africa shouldn't be in a position like that. I already showed you this one being reclaimed by the earth. Putting yourself in that position is not good, especially when you have the capability of doing other things. Morning. And there's a capability of doing something different. And when I say something different, I look at the situation from a 360 degree perspective. You have resources. Barbados has got resources, but they don't look at them as resources. See, those people who want to take large handfuls of cash, in an envelope, they don't see a breadfruit as a resource. This, see, because when you gotta hand out the money for this, the person who is building this road, you can get you'll put in a bid for 20 million to build this road. 5, maybe 6 will go towards people who help you to get the loan and outside entities that that are only connected to Barbados. By the fact that the money is sent to them and they distribute it outside of Barbados, beyond the eyes of Barbadians. And that happens in every country. And I am not giving people the idea that, you know, and people like to use that. Well, they do it in America, they do it in England. Yeah, but you know, you call yourself a religious person, and somehow your God is telling you, don't be like the people around you who do evil. But anyway, you're stepping out. There are resources that you have. That you can use. Now, one of the things that America did when it was a child was that England, France, Germany, all those other nations tried to keep America from industrializing. All the things that they built in Europe, as they call it, they try to keep the plans and the engineering know-how from getting to America. So what American leaders did, and what the people in general who saw, like, let me give you an example of the railroad. There's a man who went to England, worked in the place where they built railroads, and memorized the process of making a steam engine. So while they will not sell America a steam engine so they can replicate it here, he went there, got the engineering specs, came back and built one, and then improved on it. Where else did you ever see something like that happen in our lifetime? Would you say China? Yep, you'll be right. The Japanese came up with the first, what they call it a bullet train, because it was fast. Faster than any other train in its time. And what they did, or thought they were doing, is they were trying to keep China from developing that kind of technology. So what they do, they restricted it. The Chinese bought a slower train, not as fast as the Shenzhen. and began experimenting. Pretty soon they made their own train. China now has more track laid than all of Europe and America combined. There's more train track in China than there is in Africa. You can get from any location, I'm telling you. In Taiwan, I live 300 kilometers from Taipei Airport in a county called Taoyuan. My flight was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Got up, left home between 9 and 9:30. But mind you, I have to take the local train to the express train stop. I got there, the local train runs about every 15 minutes. Takes me to the express train, and that train got me to the airport within half an hour, 45 minutes. Two stops away from the airport, I got the local train again, or the bus. And the train brings me in right underneath the airport. Get off the train, walk upstairs, check in. But what I'm saying is that you take any country in Africa, they have resources. So they sell the resources and they buy something that you need with some of the finances, the money that you made from those resources. You build your own technology and you keep improving on your own technology, just like the Chinese did. Every piece of technology you see coming out of China, China bought the basic tools and then built it. Just look at the electric car. They built everything from the infrastructure that's needed for the infrastructure in China. That's what Africa needs to do. That's what Barbados needs to do. It's not that we don't have resources, it's the use of it. And what appears to be free money from tourism gets spent. I even say spent. They might spend 50% on the island, but they take out these loans for roads like this that are overpriced. Not well built. then the remainder, you get a corporation outside of Barbados who gets the contract, which is, like I said, overpriced. It passes out money to people, put it in banks away from Barbados. Mind you now, the loan was made outside in US dollars, so the money hasn't reached Barbados yet. By the time any money arrived in Barbados, millionaires have been created outside of Barbados. Same thing in Africa. That's why you see African leaders have so many big bank accounts and houses in countries outside of Africa. And you see Japan know what it's doing when it called 54 leaders to meet and give them $1.5 billion. That money is not going to make it to Africa. That's the problem that we're dealing with. Now, you start with the local product. I don't know, bananas, breadfruit, whatever the case might be. You build a storehouse, export that crop. Some of the money goes towards importing juice machines and flour making machines, sugar making machines. And you break down that breadfruit, make flour, sugar, other type of food products with it. And next time you're exporting the products from the breadfruit, not the breadfruit. With that money now you're building chemical plants. That you're making the packaging and so forth. Because now the breadfruit tree has leaves, and all the residuals from the breadfruit, as you squeeze and pound it and roll it and all that, the rest of that remain, you can make cellulose. And cellulose can make everything from paper to wood, building blocks, houses. So each time that you step up, you're creating an industry. You're building on top of what you had before. It will take some time, but when you put the plan in place, you can see what will happen to Africa. It has everything. You start out with the raw materials that you're exporting, and then you create aluminum smelting, and you're able to build aluminum cans and everything else that's made from aluminum you can make. What's up, man? Yeah.
All right.
Iron ore. You start out with iron ore, and then you slowly build the factories that process, smelt the iron. Steel plants come in place. Yes, you see, they put you into that borrowing thing, so you're paying money to borrow money, and you still don't have the steel plants and all that. But if you go that 360, you will see that you are progressing. You are the man who left America, went to England to get the plans for that steam locomotive that the British wouldn't sell to America. You know how many people today have gone to America to study in America and didn't come back to Africa to build anything like what they studied? Got the education. You see, China had to struggle against the same thing that this guy from Syria, the economist, was talking about in Africa. China had to struggle against the same thing. 40 years. It took 2 generations about. So the children that started out working in the factories, when they're 20 years old, when their children are 20-year old, the parents saved enough money to build a factory. And the next generation expands that factory. Now China is shipping to all the world, cutting out the American middleman. The other day, China did something that people probably forgot now. The rest of the world will start coming at China. The Europeans start coming at China. And the Chinese say, hey, just saw this one drop in the tree, so let me go get it before the worms do. Well, the worms already got it. The rest of the world started coming at China, and the Chinese manufacturer of the expensive Hermes bags and all the big names say, look, we make this bag in China for $10, $20, $30. They ship it and put on this little piece on the top and sell it for $6,000. Why not buy it from us? Half of those people who are making the bags in Europe are now scrambling, pulling their hair out, because the Chinese now is creating a brand, selling it for less than they will, and making all the money that they sent the factory to China. They moved the factory from Europe to China to build the bag. And they turn around and kick the Chinese, insult the people. And they say, look, we're not taking insults anymore. Here is the scam that they're pulling on you. I remember black American women, black European, as they call themselves, all upset because of their $6,000 bag they could have bought in China for $100. Making TikToks. But they're not going to give up that Hermes bag. They're not going to give up that YS bag. Ego, see? And the Chinese get inside their head, mess with the ego. But the Chinese is looking at this in the same way I look at it. I see it. That 360. The Europeans come at the Chinese and says, you're making too much of this and it's too cheap, because they don't want the rest of the world. You know, Africans could start making bags in Africa. They have the cow leather. Thousands of cows, millions of cows in Africa that get killed every day. Everything that they need to make bags, Africans can make. But they go to China and make it. Go make it in a Chinese factory and bring it back to Africa instead of coming home and build it. Carl Zhang and many other Chinese I listen to tell Africans that. Why are you sitting on your hand when you should be doing these things? You're selling your land to send your children to America and to England. Children will not come back home to build anything. They send some money home and you feel happy because you get the chop. What else? Children that you send to America and now having children in America. See how your resources are going? Anyway, that's why you're going to end up in a position like Kenya, Nigeria, and now Gambia. People in Gambia, the people in Gambia, diasporans are not talking about what's going on in Gambia, but oh well, that's their choice. Have a great day wherever you are. Peace.